can.
Okay, I'm going to get the Zoom stuff out of my way. Okay. Um, what they've asked me to talk about today is a little bit about how to do a health check and what is it you should be looking for and what is how do you achieve that. I am the business success director with ALLOut Security, but my background is really in audit and compliance. I am a CPA, and I have spent way too long, 20 plus years in the JD Edwards community, and have been responsible for the development of the control environment around a multi ERP system in a Fortune 500 organization, as well as being involved in audit activities. So some of the things we're going to talk about come from some of my past and some of my history, trying to help out with some educational information, as well as how ALLOut can help streamline and support some of these processes in partnership with GSI. So just quickly, a little bit about us. Our mission is really to deliver simple processes, simple security delivery, streamlining your audit reporting and your security processes. So we are a market leading software. We offer best practice education in this area with our partners such as GSI, and we are an Oracle validated integrator, clear through System 22 and our latest software. So we've gone through those steps to give you assurance that our software is solid and reliable. So let's talk about where we're going to go today. You're going to see this screen a lot. And really where all of this security health starts with is with a best practice security model. And we'll get into the details of that in a little bit. But when you go down this path of your security health check and ensuring where you are and what's going on, the first place you really need to start is with your risk assessment, understanding where you stand, what's going on in your environment, getting information to support that. So let's take a look at a few of the details around that. So when you're understanding, why do I need to take a risk-based approach? Why do I care about this? In a recent Gartner query, in the last 18 months, 87% of organizations have suffered some type of security incident. And you really need to be prepared for that. I didn't include the statistics here, but the cost of a security incident is more than double what the cost of doing preventative controls and having those preventative controls in place are. So let's talk about when you're looking at your risk assessment, what really are you looking to identify and what steps do you want to take? You want to do user reviews. You're looking at inactive users, role relationships, making sure that you're looking at what access those users have in production. And you want to make sure that you're looking at cleaning up your data. And you'll hear this a couple of times. I know GSI does some effort around offering you opportunity to clean up your information, but also there's tools within our tool set that can support that. But it really is foundational because you can have a lot of risk and questions associated with records that don't even need to be in your environment. So then you start targeting what is the critical access that individuals have. You don't really need to focus on everything. Focus on those things that introduce risk, sensitive data, things that can impact system stability. One thing I always advocated was things like controlling who has access to your calendars or your order activity rules or things that can impact those cross-functional processes. Then start understanding your data security. From a compliance perspective, do you have personal data you need to protect? Are you protecting that at the table level? Are you utilizing some of the standard functionality that's built into address book security? And how do you get visibility to all of that? And then you're going to hear this throughout, but one of those next foundational elements is segregation of duties, ensuring that individuals cannot perform multiple steps in a process. You don't want somebody to be able to create a vendor record, create the voucher, and process a payment. So things like that. And how do you manage the risk around that? And then once you have the right people having the right access, you're managing that critical access, you've made sure that there's not segregation of duties, how do you turn this into a change management process and ensure that once you've got it stabilized, that you're managing things from becoming an issue in the future. So that's that risk assessment and how do you get there. And there's some different steps that you can take to do that initial risk assessment and how do you get there. You can manually gather the required information and analyzing it. I promise you, I've done that. I I did that manually for probably 5 to 7 years before I actually purchased the ALLOut tool to assist me with it. But it can be done. But it is, you have additional audit requirements. You have additional um, human human involvement, which introduces risk, and you also have a lot of labor. So you can implement the ALLOut tool set to support some of that, and we'll look at some of the reporting as we go through this demo today. And you can always engage with GSI to assist you with this assessment, to do that initial risk assessment and understand where you stand. Once you've done the assessment, you've figured out where you stand, then you've got your response. So what are the steps you need to take there? ALLOut has a variety of tools that can really support in the risk assessment and the various steps we're taking today, but I wanted to introduce it here, where you can utilize the tool set to go ahead and look at managing the security. If you have findings, how do you streamline the security that you're maintaining? How do you adjust the user's profiles and adjust those relationships that they've got going on? Maybe you've got you need quick visibility to who has segregation of duties violations, and how can you put processes in place to manage that with mitigating controls and with full understanding and streamlining those processes. So we've got a broad range of tools. If you've got questions, and Brooke, if questions come in, go ahead and throw them out there. I'll answer them throughout. An interactive session is never a bad thing.
Okay,
But
perfect.
you're never on your own going down this process. And I'm not going to go into everything here, but just ask questions if you've got it. We'll touch on pieces of this as we go throughout. So what do you need to do? You find you've got an issue when you do your risk assessment. Many times it's segregation of duties violations. It could be people have the wrong access. It could be just a user access review and people have more access than you thought they had. First thing you're going to want to do is prioritize. If you try to eat the elephant in one bite, it's always a painful process. So make sure that you're prioritizing. Not all risks are created equally. You want to, the next step is, you've got Rachel. She can do purchase order creation and receiving. Can you remove the role from the user? Can you take away access that they really don't need? Um, so is there, if they only need one piece of a role, is there another way to grant it to them? And there's tools within our tool set that can help you identify which security roles have access to this one piece of the role that Rachel needs. So you can then, if that doesn't work, you can change the security role. Make sure that you understand that how you're impacting other users. It's not one user that you're impacting when you're doing that. And then if that doesn't work, another way that you can do it is really to add a security role that specifically denies a particular piece of access. So if there's one program that really is a problem, you can add a role that denies it, or in the base role that's creating the issue, add an I record. And then in 25 years in this industry, I have never seen an environment that had no segregation of duties violations or critical access that you didn't want somebody to have. There's always business reasons why you end up having a situation like that. You've got your accounts payable manager that you really need them to be able to do changes to your vendors as well as adjustments to vouchers as they're doing, final cleanup and managing the business process. So you may have somebody in accounting that reviews any changes that they make to the vendor master. Just make sure that you involve mitigating controls in your process, that you include those in your reporting and analysis of what's going on in your risk assessment, and that you don't want to reinvent the wheel. You want to make sure that you're getting credit for any mitigating controls you already have built into your business processes. Do not create a duplicate process just to manage security. And as you go through this, whether you're looking at prioritizing these things, we've got tools that can help in each one of these areas. So let's jump back to our thing. Once you've gone through that, your next is your risk response. I've done the risk assessment. I've gone into the next thing, and I think I just walked through that one. That's what happens when I jump the gun. So we've done our risk assessment. We've done our risk response. What's next? Well, you've got controls that you've got in place. This is as you're walking through the maturity of your control environment and your security health within your environment. The next thing you do is, okay, I've done an initial assessment. I've put processes in place to manage it. Now, what are my controls that I want to have in place to take things to the next level? And how can I do that without making it overly burdensome for us? You're always going to start, one of the places you're going to start is segregation of duties. You've got your access management in place, so you're going to look at segregation of duties. Why do you start here? Why do you go here? It's going to reduce your risk of erroneous or inappropriate actions. It's going to ensure that critical functions are separated among employees. You want to make sure that when these functions can't be separated, a control put in place. And you want to make sure that you are appropriately deterring fraud and keeping one user from having the ability to create a situation. Things like if you've got a buyer who is involved with vendor setup, he knows he's leaving. He knows that he's going to be leaving the organization. If he can go in and change the vendor's banking information, go into your largest supplier, change the bank information, leave, the payment is made through your automated payment processes. He goes ahead, he gets that money, he's on a beach somewhere before you even realize it's happened. You really need to separate processes and functions from one another. And what does that look like? This is a standard segregation of duties matrix. You'll see it, see things like this all over the place. This is one some sample data of one that's made available through the ALLOut SOD master toolset. So you can use this to jumpstart a lot of your processes. I did when I went through this process. And what it is we've gone through each module within in JD Edwards, identified what are critical processes within those, and which of those processes should be segregated from one another. A 1 being a low risk, 2 being moderate risk, 3 being high risk. So we've worked with a variety of auditors, customers, partners, and developed what is a standard best practice. Now, as an auditor, I'm always going to tell you, take a quick look at this. Do an analysis. Is there anything that needs to be adjusted for your business processes? But then one of the biggest time consumers as you go through either, access reporting or SOD reporting and trying to understand who can do what is within each one of these business processes, defining what are all of the programs that can empower you to make changes. So we've gone through and we've identified each one of the standard JD Edwards process or programs that can perform an update to a voucher, that can advance something through payment approval. We've created a list for each one of those that you can use for critical access reporting, and then segregation of duties rules that represent those conflicts that folks shouldn't have. So that's all predefined. You add your custom applications and you can jumpstart your initiatives in this security health check and understanding through the processes like that. When you're going, once you've gone through, you've defined it, you've got your segregation of duties, the next level of maturity in this security health is preventative tools. Understanding how can I prevent SOD violations, unauthorized critical access, and we've got some tools within our tool set that can help with that. One of those is preventative SOD violations, where you can say, I never want somebody to be able to do, these 2 business processes. I want an immediate alert or a hard stop if somebody tries to create this SOD violation. So you can define those and get those immediately when those things start to come in place. Another option is you can really take that a step further with change control, where you can actually do requests right within JD Edwards. And I'm controlling myself here, Steph. I was going to jump into the system unplanned, but I'll stay on track. But where you can do the request within JD Edwards, do analysis, validate the change, do your approvals, and you can go ahead and ensure that any requests coming in are adhering to your policies. You've got appropriate documentation. Do you require testing for this? You can go ahead and make sure that you're not introducing SOD violations, that you can have controlled roles. I never want somebody to be a CNC admin unless they've got sign off by IT management. I don't ever want somebody to be able to do a journal entry unless accounting tells me it's okay. So critical processes like that. And along the way, you have various opportunities to reject, add documentation, approve, and then go ahead and automate that implementation. There's a lot of different preventative controls you can put in place, whether it's role assignment controls, those key security roles that are most concerning, whether it's doing access reviews along the path to make sure that it's not granting unexpected access, ensuring that, these are particular security roles that I want managed, and here's the approved people that can authorize it. And you can capture all of that information, that audit trail, that evidence right within JD Edwards. So, so the next step is to analyze and communicate. And we lost one of my links again, but excuse me. As I scroll back through this mess, ignore me, because I need to get to that. So the next thing you want to do is you want to analyze and communicate. This is getting the information to the people that needs to make decisions and making it a part of your standard business process. Because this security health check and security health of your environment is never a once and done process. So what do you need to do? There's a variety of people when you're looking at the health of the security in your environment that have a role. And each one of those people need different levels of information. They may need high level information around SODs. They need information around which one of their users have access to what changes for my users have been approved. So there's a range of information that you need to have available. And these, along with a variety of others, are available within the tool set. But understanding who are your stakeholders in this process, and how do you make sure that the information they have is at their fingertips, can be a very important part of your security health. And it's really going to look at, what should this information focus on? It's the same thing. You're going to start where things are at risk. You're going to go there. You're going to say what is most concerning to us. You want to make sure that access is aligned with responsibilities. That means people really have the security they need. If somebody did some Saturday work in accounts payable 6 months ago, that's not really their current responsibilities. They don't still need that role. So you need to make sure that that's available and that you're adhering to any controls that you have defined within your organization. We want everybody to reset their password every 30 days. Well, are your users configured to do that appropriately? We want to make sure that nobody can set up employee records except for HR. Okay, how do you get quick visibility to, are you adhering to those controls? And that's all about ensuring that the responsible individuals have timely information without a lot of work. You want it, it's not information if they have to work hard to get it, it's data. So make sure that you are developing that and ensuring that those responsibilities that need information have it at their fingertips. Some of that information can be in the form of reports. And I'm going to show you a couple here just as samples, but these are a couple of segregation of duties reports. This is a detailed report. Here I had Barry. He's got the ability to do voucher entry and purchase order entry. I've got quick visibility to all of the programs that allow him to update a voucher And where does that security come from, and what is his effective security? So I can very quickly get detailed information for this. My staff and I, we lived in this report, literally put any unmitigated SOD violations on scheduler, and that report was in our email boxes every Monday morning. We spent 10 minutes. Is there any surprises? Anything we need to do? We need to go talk to Barry's boss and get his security changed, because obviously we've got to get this purchase receipt off of him. It's not appropriate. so go talk to his boss. What do we need to do to manage Barry? Now, this is way too much information for your executives. They want summary information. I just want to know, what are my high risk SOD violations? Who are the people that's got that violation? And I can do that at a very summary, quick, easy to deliver method. So 2 audiences, same information-ish, want it consumable in 2 different ways. And this report, this is my CFO wanted this. Anytime he was going into an audit committee meeting, he wanted this, and I could run this in 10 minutes for about 3,000 users. So segregation of duties is one thing. Another thing is looking at critical access. Who are the people that have access to what? And in this case, I'm looking at my finance users and my IT users. I've got way too many people that can do depreciation and adjustments. Or I've got Katie, who does work for finance and IT, but she's the only person in my system that can do sales order entry. I probably need to fix that. This report is a quick, easy way to get visibility to who has access to what critical processes. This and our role relationship report are the 2 reports that are most standardly used for user access reviews. Do people have the appropriate access? And this, both of these, the SOD and this report, can be run for both security roles or for users. So another way I've used this is to put my security roles across here, and what are the critical processes that they have access to? And A, is it appropriate? And B, it's a great tool to give to somebody who's requesting role assignments to make sure that they really know what they're asking for, and to simplify what they need to look at to get visibility to what's there. All of our reports are standard E1 functionality. So I can run it to a PDF, I can run it to Excel file to do analysis. The same thing I did with the SOD report with detail, I can do with the critical access. So let's look in the system at a little bit of navigation. So let's see if my system's timed out. It hasn't. So I'm in JD Edwards. All I've done here, and I'm going to go ahead and zoom this in a little bit if I can get this out of my way so that it's a little bigger for you. But all I've done is created the ALLOut product menu, which is just a page, and I've incorporated it into a page. But anytime you're working within our software, do I want to do reporting? Do I want to manage data? Or do I have an objective I want to go down? Do I want to do some of that security cleanup I talked about? All of that's buried in here. But in this case, we're talking about some of the reporting. I'm going to go into access and audit reporting. I can come into here and I can say, do I want to do access and SOD reporting? Do I want to let my finance manager come in and self-serve their SOD reports? They can come in here and just say, I want my finance stuff, and quickly execute their stuff. So quick, simple, put it at their fingertips, make it available. Whether I'm looking at a variety of other audit reports, do I want to inquire on role assignments? Do I want to work with those inactive users? It's all here, quick, simple, easy to get to. The other thing I can do, I'm within JD Edwards. I can create an E1 page that matches my business process. Forgot, that's why I made this a little smaller. So I can match my business process. This is one that I put together to look at, I want to look at my control environment. I want to understand my risk assessments. How many high risk SODs do I have that don't have controls associated with them? And if I click on the right button, we'll actually see it. So I can very quickly get visibility to, I've got a variety of SOD violations. I've got a small number of them right here that have no controls. I need to take a look at what those are, click on them, get visibility to them, and understand where the heck I need to be. So if I want to look at that same information for my SOD violations, maybe I want to go in and I want to take a look at SOD conflicts, or let's go here. So here I can come in. Do I want SOD or critical access reports? Well, let's take a look at SOD. Do I want to report on users or do I want to report on roles? It's just a toggle. The difference between the summary report and the detail report, simple, easy to get to. I don't have to, if I want to run that information and I don't want to go through that page, I want the same thing I ran the last time, I can go ahead and I can come into the versions and see, there's a variety of delivered reports. You pick which one you want to run, put it on a menu, put it on that E1 page that I looked at, and each one of ours, and I need to get this down a little bit because I can't get to my other screen. When you execute the reports, they're going to create a header report that's going to show you exactly what you ran. This makes this completely auditable. If you didn't understand what the D's I was showing on the report when I looked at it, that means somebody has full control. But you get the legend, you get the audit, and you get, here's everybody that can do bank maintenance and where their access to bank maintenance is coming from and what they can do. So quick, simple, easy to work with information.
Linda, we do have a question.
Sure.
That just came through. The question is from George, and he said, how much of this is applicable to JD Edwards World software?
We have another tool set that is for World, and of some of the things we're looking at, the SOD is there. There's critical access reporting in there. The reports look a little different. We've got, I'm 90% sure we've got inactive user reporting in there. So I would say from a population of information, probably 70% of this is in World. Some of the reporting around menu information is a little different. You obviously can't incorporate it into an E1 page because those don't exist there. A lot of things, because one of our ideologies and key methodologies is that we utilize and align with standard JD Edwards functionality. So not a huge project to implement. You can step into it very quickly. You can get that low-hanging fruit and get quick wins. And because of that, the World technology and the JD Edwards, the E1 technology are a little different. So what our offerings are a little different in those two. If you've got specific World questions, I can always do a product demo on the World product with you. So let me know. We can take a look at it.
Thanks, Linda.
Absolutely. As I go through the rest of this, and if I see something specific, I will try to call out the World difference. So what's next? Authorizations. You've gone through all of this of making sure everything is in place the way you need it. How do you make sure that changes aren't happening that aren't appropriate and causing you more problems in the future? So we've got request and approval processes. We talked a little bit about that, the change control earlier, that's preventative controls and all of the functionality for controlled roles. You can also implement just a very simple request and approval process if you choose to, where you can have multiple levels of approval if you want to, or just, this person's responsible for my accounts payable users, and this person's responsible for these security roles. Or you can just keep it simple and define, I just want to make sure that somebody is approving this, and that I've got some segregation of duties between who's applying security and who's approving security. If somebody shouldn't have something, all you have to do is click on reject, and it will go ahead and reject that access and not create the assignment. So the process of creating it is creating the assignment. When you get the approvals, it's within JD Edwards. You capture the information, and then it's reportable, and you don't have to, take the approval and then do duplicate data entry to create the assignment. You click on the approval and the assignment is automatically created. So there is workflow available for this so that you can get notifications. If you've got things that are pending approval, set a watch list up over it. So it's part of the data that you're getting alerts to. Part of the benefit of utilizing standard functionality. Obviously, the workflow and alerts are not available in World, but you can create lists as to who is allowed to request stuff, who is allowed to approve things, and are those approvals role specific? Are they user type specific? How do you want that to work? So you can keep this as simple or as robust as meets your business process needs. Once you get that approval information in the system, it's reportable. In this particular report, I said, here's all of the security roles that are owned by my accounts payable manager. Who has those roles? How long have they had it? Are they active or have they expired? And was there approval or commentary that was captured? These yellow highlighted screens, that's standard screen. That is our standard E1 functionality, or standard ALLOut functionality stored within JD Edwards that is then available and reportable for you. So when I'm looking at some of that information, let's jump back over here. A lot of that information is going to be here in the data management. I can come in and my role assignments. Do I want to request a role assignment? Do I want to look at what's pending approval? If I want to look at assignments that are in place, I can go ahead and I can, well, let's go here first. So I want to approve a role assignment. I've got this role assignment that's waiting for Barry. Or here, Archie's got a request to do vacation coverage. You know what that is? I'm in JD Edwards. Let's go look at the UDC list. V means vacation coverage. This is sick coverage. Those are things that are temporary in nature. But I can see, they want Archie to cover for Susie on vacation. I can go ahead. What do I want to do with this? I can see any documentation. If they've done an attachment, maybe an email that somebody requested it. If somebody's authorized that, I can see who that is, any comments, what the reason code is. They really should have had an expiration date on there. I can put that on there if I want. I can add an expiration date. And from here, I can either create or reject. If I create, it's actually creating the role assignment. I don't have to go do more data entry. Once I do that, I can get visibility to that either here or there's an inquiry screen as well, where I can come in and let's look at a couple I know I've got some data on. So if I want to see, who all has security roles that have been assigned to do vacation coverage, they all ought to have an expiration date. So I can get visibility to that. I can see, was this supported by a ticket? Was this approved by somebody? Are there attachments in here documenting and approving this information? The attachment functionality, the role request functionality, that is not part of World. These are some unique functionalities within E1. So quick, easy, simple to work with. Let's see. So we talked about that a little bit. Let's see what's next. So the next thing we want to take a look at is monitoring and maintenance. How do you I've gone through this, I've put it in place. What do I do about monitoring and ensuring that this information is ready to go? So make sure that you are identifying repeatable processes. Like I said earlier, this is not once and done. So what are the types of things that I need to have in place to ensure that this is an ongoing process? You would hate to put, to go through and make sure that you've got all of this under control just for a year later to have so many changes happen that you didn't have awareness of. And so you need change control processes in place. Are there policies? Every role assignment's got to be approved by somebody, or everything's got to be requested by the business. So what are those policies that exist within your organization, and how do you get visibility and ensure that those are in place? What can I just put on scheduler to make sure that it's being created and monitored regularly? And how do I define ownership within my organization to say, we want you or we need you to look at this, whether it's once a quarter. So make sure that you're defining a process, a repeatable process. I've got in Q1, I'm always going to do user access reviews with all my department managers or with all my business managers. So Q2, we do a user access review again, but I'm also going to take a look at all of my mitigating controls I'm relying on. And I'm going to divide those up and I'm going to look at 4 of those a quarter, or what are the things that you need to do on an ongoing basis to make sure that you're prepared for your audit, prepared for when your manager comes and asks questions, because all this stuff we're talking about, it's not just audit preparation, or it's really around ensuring the controls in your environment and the health of your security environment. So wherever possible, you want to simplify this. So if you've got policies that say, I'm requiring everyone to change their password every 30 days. We've got screens that can give you quick visibility to, does everybody have that control appropriately set up? You don't have to work hard and look at every user or cross your fingers and hope. Just have a step on a checklist somewhere that twice a year, 4 times a year, once a month, whatever meets your business needs, somebody comes in here, QBEs, and says, yep, everybody's set up the same. I don't have disabled users in the environment. Everybody's assigned an address book. I'm forcing changes. How many attempts are people allowed to make before they get locked out? Use these screens and the grids, whatever those controls are that you want to have in place. There's quick, simple ways to go ahead and get visibility to that, and a variety of standard reports, whether it's user and role access, segregation of duties, inactive user reports. Don't spend hours trying to manage the security and correct the SOD violations for folks that aren't using the system. Identify those. Identify extraneous security records. Don't fight with your auditor about why do 6 different roles have access to vendor maintenance. If 3 of those roles aren't assigned to anybody, take them out of the system. You don't want to work hard for the stuff that you're not getting value out of. And so get that. And lastly, repeat it. Make sure you're focusing on historical findings. You're regularly updating that risk plan. You're focusing on what has changed. You don't need to reinvent and re-review every one of your SOD rules every year. We've got audit history reports that can give you quick visibility to what has changed in your environment, and focus your audit on that. I did that with both PwC and KPMG. I did not want to go through the process of reinventing the wheel every year and re-educating a new auditor. Let's just spend our time on what has changed and then making sure we're communicating and repeating appropriately. So what is the foundation for all of this? It's best practice security. It's making sure that your security is in place. That didn't go to where I wanted it to. Okay. So what is the best practice security model that really lays the foundation for this being deliverable? And that's going to be making sure your goal is to have stable security with minimal rework. So you want a closed environment. You want small process-based roles. You want 1 login per user. This small process-based role is different for World because of the way that security works in World. You want minimal use of version-informed security, making sure that you're aligning your UDO with your standard security roles. You don't want everybody to come in and need 2 roles. I want my real security and my UDO security. Put it all together. It's one business process. Whether you're receiving is receiving, whether you need UDOs to do that or UBEs to do that. But you want user level access as an exception. You do not want to be defining security to users unless there's a real good reason why. That's probably one of the things you want to monitor for regularly. Do the people that have user level security records still need them? Avoid having your data and program security in the same place. That means Receiving is receiving is receiving, whether you're doing it for Texas, Florida, or Spain. Go ahead and separate that so you can reutilize those security roles. And I'll show you what I mean by that in a minute. And then make sure you're using inclusive row security to really simplify who has access to what. So security can look really complicated in JD Edwards when you're working with users and roles and relationships and how you accessing stuff and what are the security records and what environments are they working with. It really doesn't have to be that complicated. It really can be a simple, detail the processes. What are the process areas I'm working with right now? What are the break down those processes within those business streams? So if I'm looking at procurement, I need to create POs. I need to inquiry over them. I might have requisitioning. So what's in scope, and then break down those. Then create those small process-based roles that support that. So when you're looking at purchasing, PO inquiry, it doesn't matter if you're a receiving manager, a department manager, somebody in accounting, somebody in accounts payable. You all need purchase order inquiry. You don't want to redefine those programs over and over and over again. Just apply that to the appropriate person or the appropriate, and define, a receiver always gets these things, and make that a standard process. So just some high level tips. And I know Dave and I have had some conversation. I know he agrees with a lot of these, but if you've got another one you want to throw in there, go ahead with it. But it's small process-based roles, because your users are going to change, but the process of how do you enter a voucher doesn't. You want to do that deny all, so people don't have any access unless you grant them that to them via a role. When you sign into the system, try to sign in with all roles, because that's going to give you the highest level of control. It's going to stand up to your audit the best, and it's going to ensure that your users aren't having problems. Use your menus and your pages for navigation. Don't think just because you've restricted access to a program on the menu that you're safe, because you really aren't. You've not managed the risk. That is a huge thing that whether an auditor or security health check can identify. And then have that separate roles for your functional and your data, making sure that you don't have segregation of duties conflicts built into your security roles. Don't forget about access across systems. If you are in a situation that you're creating purchase orders in a demand planning solution, interfacing those into JD Edwards or integrating those into JD Edwards and receiving in JD Edwards, when you're looking at SOD violations, you need to look across systems. If you are in a situation that you need to do that, you can do that within the ALLOut tool set. You can incorporate that other access into your reporting. Keep your security records clean. Make sure that you're looking for extraneous records, duplicate records, inactive users. A little bit of time in keeping that clean or engaging with GSI to assist you with that can really help. And there's tools that, like I said, GSI can help. There's tools within our environment. Here's where I go off script and they get crazy with me. If I want to look at, excuse me, if I want to look at, redundant security records, if I want to understand, do I have duplicate security information? There's tools here that can help and can really streamline some of that for you. So how do you get there? If you really need to do that redefinition of your security foundation, we do have a security start out. We've got a start out tool that gives you that best practice role-based security information. It can help you with some of the project automation. It can really decrease the time that you spend. It's going to give you about 80% of your requirements in predefined information. From what I've heard from some of our partners and customers, if they're either redesigning security or redesigning menus or implementing a new JD Edwards module, this can save anywhere from 70 to 80% of that initial setup time. And I know that GSI is really able to help support with that and can work forward with that as well if you've got needs. So what are our customers saying? I know that we're about 10 minutes out. We're doing good on time. Questions? I know I've done a lot of talking. I'll take that as no questions.
We have a couple.
While
It
you
looks
look,
like,
go
oh, sorry,
ahead.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry. I was going to say,
No, no.
if you need to look for a minute, I'll hit this next slide.
Oh yeah, go ahead. Yep. And then I'll go ahead and look at some questions that we have come in.
I blindsided Brooke, sorry.
No, you're good. You're good. There were some that came through the chat.
Okay.
And then there was actually one that just came through in the Q&A. So go ahead and do your next slide, and then we'll go into the questions and answers.
Okay. So we've got, what are our customers saying? One of, Par Pharmaceutical tells us that they were able to develop a sustainable compliance process with automated reporting to support their audits and really overall reduce the risk and the effort that they were putting into the process. I can attest, I did the same thing. It saved me so much time when I implemented. Don't be a stranger. We really like to participate in educational opportunities throughout the community. So connect with us on LinkedIn, check out our website, talk to us at the in-person events. We really like to be a part of this wonderful thing that is the JD Edwards infrastructure and the people that work together and help one another and ask questions. We're here.
Awesome. So thank you so much, Linda. Lots of good information. Everyone's all excited about it. There is a question here from Shannon, and she said, how do you define a user if a user is inactive?
There's a couple of ways to do it. For us, you can look at if they're enabled and disabled. That's standard JD Edwards functionality. The other thing is there's some standard JD Edwards functionality that will track when people have logged in and logged out, but there's not a lot of reporting or information. So we've utilized that to create reports where I can come in and I can say, I want to look at report on inactive users. I can say I want to look at everybody, or do I want a particular range of folks? If I've got some test IDs that I don't ever sign into production and I want to exclude those from the reporting, I can do that because that's just noise. I can go ahead and say, I want to look at anybody who has not signed into the system from a particular period of time. So maybe 90 days or 30 days. So I can define, if they've not entered the system, I can say, I want to list in this report all of my users and then have the ability to show how often in this 30 days have they signed in or have they not signed in at all. I can say, you know what, I only want to look at my inactive users. So only people that haven't signed in the 30 days, I want to include them in the report. And then if I'm including active, I can show how many times have they entered the system within the selected range. I can dump it to Excel for analysis. I also have the opportunity, in this case, I just went into report on this. We've got another version of this that allows you to actually, if they're not signing into the system, you can disable or delete the user depending upon what is your business process to handle users that you're removing. And go ahead and remove role assignments if that's the way you handle users that aren't utilizing the system and your deprovisioning process. And if I've got Bill, who we know that's out on vacation and hasn't been in the system in the 30 days, I can exclude him from those automated updates as well. Or if you've got users that maybe I'm looking at 90 days, but I don't want to see anybody who's set up in the last 14 days because I know those are new users that haven't been trained in that yet. So you can manage that within the report variables as well. So this is the biggest area that we look at for, how do you look at users that aren't utilizing the system? The other thing that you can look at, it's really, really easy in standard JD Edwards to end up with users that are partway created in the system. So if I want to look at users that are, maybe they don't have, let's see what I got here. So maybe they don't have any role assignments associated with them. We've got other reports or information here where I can say, these are users that have no role assignments. I've got users that aren't set up in there's multiple user tables and maybe they're in one of them but not other of them. I can get visibility to stuff like that. So there's just a lot of information, but from an inactive user report, are they not signing into the system, or is it extraneous information that you don't necessarily need in your environment because it's a user that's partway set up?
Awesome, thank you. There's a couple questions on here that are a little bit more for following up afterwards. If anyone from your team can offer, offer some help with UDO security, OWM, and role sequence. Okay.
Absolutely. Steph, I'm going to guess that you're grabbing those, or Brick, if you could send those to us after, and we can follow
Absolutely.
up, because we do have UDO security functionality, streamlining those processes, reporting information, because really UDOs are where a lot of us are going.
Perfect. And then Carla said that she's been using you guys for years, and she had no idea all of these reports existed. She said, thanks, Linda, in all caps.
Absolutely, Carla. We talk often, and you're right. When I was a customer, there's so much functionality that I didn't realize that was there. If you feel like you're working hard at something and there might be something in there, just fire us an email. We'll let you know if there's something there that can help. And with Carla, she already owns most of these. So I'm not trying to sell you something. I just want you getting value out of the software.
Beautiful. Yeah. And I have a question, one more question from Asha. And Asha says, is it possible to define security roles based on PO types, like inventory POs versus non-inventory type POs?
You would do that in the data security. So you would create row security that had an implication based on the doc type. And you can do that, but you have to set up in the object librarian, you have to define that field for row security. Okay. I know that doc type historically was not shipped as a defined field for security, but you can modify that. Just make sure that you're managing it at a database level to keep your information efficient, because you may have to set up database making sure that you're indexing that field appropriately so that it's efficient in your searches.
And thank you for that. I've got one more question. How to perform bulk role termination of JDE users in ALLOut Security?
There's some mass termination processes. It's under the data. There's a couple of different places, but in the user and role maintenance, you can do delete users and roles. If there's ways, depending upon what it is that you need to do, you can come into the maintain users. You can select multiple and delete those. And there's some delete functionality here. So check out our academy. We've got training classes in the academy that can walk you through some of those processes. And if you're not sure where to find it, reach out to us.
Awesome. Thank you so much. It looks like that's it. There were a couple of people that I think, if you guys see Linda's information on the screen right now, we'll also be sending out a follow-up email with all of our information. So if you guys have any further questions, please feel free to submit those.
Yeah,
as
and
well.
We can follow up after.
Perfect. Beautiful.
No,
you know what? We're coming up on 3 o'clock, so I'm just we're going to just kind of skip some final things, and so we can let everybody go on time. We just want to thank you, Linda, so much for your presentation today. It was wonderful and lots of really, really good information. And Rachel said, thank you very much.
I'm glad it was helpful, and I hope everybody got a little bit of information.
Yeah, it was great. Thank you so much. And thank you to everybody who attended the webcast today. And Susan said, very helpful.
We do. We really appreciate your time. I agree, Book. I know everyone's time's important, so thank you for sharing a little bit of yours with us.
Yeah, and then this is also recorded, so it will be on our YouTube page as well, and so you'll be able to access it at a later date as well. So all of that information will be sent out to everybody. And again, thank you, Linda. Thank you, everybody, and we hope that you have a great day.
Have a good day, everyone.
Thanks, Linda.